happy Tuesday. It's not Wednesday quite yet. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me here tonight for another craft night with friends. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners, and I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So I'm really happy to be here again today. We are continuing on our embroidery of the month, the little penguins, the penguins who are skiing and snowboarding here. So we'll be continuing on that today. We'll be starting with the satin stitch and kind of going through that satin stitch process. So hopefully your satin stitch is going to get a little nicer. So we will do that. Feel free to ask any questions as we go, and let's get going. All right, and I just wanted to share too, I have my alphabet quilt here. I am so freaking excited to finally be doing a stitch along for the alphabet quilt. So for the alphabet in general. So we've had these cute little alphabet characters, little animals for ages, and we've just never done a stitch along with it. So it's like a long time coming that we do a stitch along. We are going to start that on the 31st of this month, basically the first full 2 weeks of February, which includes the 31st of January. We are going to start stitching it the first 2 weeks of each month. So I am super excited. I brought this out of the bin, and I haven't seen it in so long, and I'm really happy to see it again. So we will be stitching each character. So I think we're going to go in order. And you can do whatever you like with them, but I am going to be making it into a quilt similar to this, but we're going to do that quilt as you go method. I have learned tons about quilting since working on this project. This is just all stitched in the ditch. I would love to quilt, each one of these, and we're going to do that quilt as you go method where we can quilt each square, and then we will make the sashing for it later, but it'll probably be a little bit like half the size of this. So more on how I'm going to be doing the quilt later, but I just wanted to remind everyone that if you saw our email today, we are doing an early bird special through Friday, the end of Friday, for all of the patterns, and then also fabric and floss and the scissors and like a whole big bundle. And then we have other bundles like for the PDF patterns and just the iron-on patterns. So anyway, I just wanted to share because I am so excited to stitch all of these with you guys. All the letters of the alphabet. So we'll be doing theoretically 2 a month. So I want to work on them the first and second week of each month. And then we should be done by February next year, which is crazy. But I didn't want it to last like 2 years if we did like just 1 a month. So in our evenings, like how we're stitching this guy right now, we will stitch up those guys. I don't think each one is going to take the whole week though. So when we get done stitching, we will do the quilt as you go, or we'll make some into other projects. But we kind of are launching that today, just that idea of that we're stitching. Oops, I lost some of my floss up here. That we're gonna finally be doing that stitch along, and I think that's gonna be just really fun. Just some sweet, simple designs of all the cute little animals with their little letters on there too. Which you don't have to do if you don't want, but I think the letters are fun. So I'm gonna just do the whole thing as an alphabet quilt. All right, you guys. So jumping onto this, so check that out. I did put the link in on YouTube and Facebook if you wanted to see our page for that. And thanks everyone who already bought bundles. I appreciate that a ton, and we'll be getting those out to you. And I'm just stoked to be working on this project. It feels like it's meant to have happened like for years, and now we're finally doing it. So I'm really happy with that. All right, back to the penguins here. So we were gonna start by focusing on the satin stitch. because the next part, like his little feet are satin stitch, his little faces, And this guy's face and his little arms, his wings, are Satin Stitch as well. So I thought we'd start just going through how to do the Satin Stitch with this guy's wing right here. It's a nice, like, simple shape. Whereas, you know, if I continue on this guy, it's got like a bunch of awkward shapes, and same with his toes and legs and stuff. It's just a little awkward shape. So I thought I'd do just like a demo on this arm here, and then we'll go back and get his little face and feet done. So let's get some black. Oh, you can't see or hear, Gretchen. I think the sound looks like it's working on my end today. So if anyone else can't, usually tons of people yell if they can't hear me. What happens if you already have a lot of them? Yes, so they are available separately as well, Robin. And you'll see at the bottom of the page, we'll have a link to get to where you can get them all individually. So you can get them, they come in a PDF pattern or an iron-on pattern, so you can get them individually or, you know, whatever you need. Because, yeah, we've had these patterns for a while, so I'm sure a bunch of you that have been here for a while with me here at Penguin and Fish probably have stitched several of these already. So feel free to use the ones that you already have. You don't have to buy extra, you know, obviously if you have it already. But yes, if you're missing letters, we do have that. There'll be a big link. It's the big orange panel with the whale all the way at the bottom. If you click that link, it'll get you to the individual patterns. I'm wearing the sweater today. I wore it all day today. I would say that, you know, it is a little kind of loose at the top, but it's not so bad. It's not as bad as what it was for looseness. I think when I cast off, or when I bound off, I probably could have done it a little bit tighter, but I also suspect that this is going to, as I wear it, it's going to felt a little bit, and I think it's going to get smaller and smaller. Theoretically, I could probably just run a piece of thread through here and tie it off just so it's tighter, but I'm not going to deal with all that. It's actually kind of nice. Like, it's really nice to, like, put up like this. Actually, maybe this is how I'll work on it tonight, just so that it's a little out of the way. So it's cute like that as well, I think. But yeah, so that's if I just want exposed wrists like today, but most of the time I have it up there just to keep warm. But yeah, it fits with the whole ski theme, I think. All right, so I'm going to pull 3 strands of thread just because we are stitching with 3 for this process. Now, technically, if you want really, really, really nice, nice satin stitch stitches, the best way to do it is with just a single strand. Then you know you're going to have just single strands laying perfectly next to each other. Whereas with the 3 strands, they could get a little twisted and that sort of thing, but I'm not going to let that bother me. I think it's still going to look okay, especially with the black, because the black is going to, like, suck in all the light. You're not going to really be able to see if things aren't laying perfectly, I don't think. All right. And with 3 strands, it'll just go a whole lot faster. But we could do a demo at some point. Just different ways to do satin stitch. Like, what does 3 strands look like versus just the single? And that'd be kind of fun. All right, we have our 3 strands here. In my head, I'm like, where's my needle? It's on my needle minder. I should have known better. Ugh, and you guys, so you guys have really been loving the needle minder. I actually had to take it. I took it, we only had it, like, listed individually for like today or yesterday, I think, but I took down the listing to get it alone, or like to get it individually. So now, because I wanted to make sure that we had enough for people who bought the kit. So the kit comes with, this is our embroidery of the month. It actually comes with the needle minder. The needle minder is our freebie for this month. But we listed this separately too, and you guys sucked them all up really quick. Then I'm like, oh my god, I better keep some just for people who still buy the kit, so we have enough. But if we still have extra, just so you guys know, if we still have extra next month, we'll list all the extra again. So there may be a few next month yet, if they don't all get purchased with the kits. So I just wanted to let you know that I've turned that off. So if you did order one of these guys today or yesterday, I think we made them go live, you're gonna get yours. So don't worry about that. But I just if you haven't gotten it, then the only way to get it is with the kit. Marcia says, can we still order this month's kit with the needle minder? Yes. So I try to keep as many back as I thought I need. So yes, they're still available with the kit, and I'll definitely let you guys know. We'll probably actually just stop orders for the kit at that point if we don't have the needle minder as well, and then we'll just release the kit next year, or next month, I mean, on its own without the needle minder. But I think I might order more. Like this was fun to do. I might try actually ordering like a different colorway. So let me know what color you'd like to see these guys as, and I'd like to make more just other designs like we talked about last night. Anywho, let's get going here. So, all right, I'm going to start with an away knot like we did last night, just because I don't have any kind of stitches in this area to weave in, like how we've been weaving in all of our threads. So I'm going to just I'm just going to put in like right here from the front. I did tie a knot at the end there. And all right, so I'm going to satin stitch his little wing here. And the first thing we gotta kind of decide, and there's no wrong answer to this, is what direction we want the stitches. So I could make them go straight up. I think that'd actually look really nice. I could actually go at an angle, like his arm is kind of out at an angle, so it would make sense. I could go just perpendicular to like the angle of the arm. That'd be interesting. I could also come the other direction and make like really big stitches. Really, anything goes. We're going to be okay however you want to do it. We could go like horizontally, just straight out. I think this time, let's see what I did here, just out of curiosity. Oh, it's so hard to tell because the black just sort of blends in. It looks like I sort of went at a little bit of an angle, like it's going at the angle of the arm. And I did the same thing here. They're both kind of going at 45-degree angles. Why don't we do it a little differently? Why don't we try like the vertical way of doing it? So I'm going to go vertical, just straight vertical to my whole piece here for this arm. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to just stitch some like markers. So I'm going to stitch a few rows that are parallel to each other, and those are just going to be my guides. So I find that this step is helpful so you don't like accidentally kind of turn your stitches as you go. So one thing you always want to start, oops, where'd that little red fuzzle come from? Sheesh. You always want to start from one side and end on the other. So in this case, if I'm going bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom to top, I'm always going to be starting at the bottom and ending at the top. So I'm going to go straight across, so you can just eyeball it. Sometimes I do like actually holding the thread up like this, and then I can kind of see where I need to go. I've seen actually some stitchers who actually stitch right through the thread here. I'm not going to do that, but if you're stitching with like two threads, then that can help like keep your threads separate. But I'm doing three, so they're just going to kind of be a little twisted, but that's fine. So all right, that's like my first marker. Let's go a little further down here, and let's do another like straight up stitch. That was about like right here. You always want to start on one side and end on the other. So all right, that's second marker. Let's do maybe one more. We'll go right here. And on curves and weird shapes, it can be a little difficult to get like just the right spot. So it is kind of nice. I'm gonna just hold it up there. It is kind of nice to just hold it there, so you can really see. The idea is we want all of these stitches to be parallel to each other. So now, for a satin stitch, we basically have to fill in the blanks here. So I'm actually going to go back to the beginning. I wouldn't really have to. I could start wherever, really. But I'm going to kind of just work on the left and work my way right here. So let's go. I'm going to go right next to the last stitch, or the first stitch here, and we're starting at the bottom. And I'm coming up like literally like one of these little strands of my fabric, like 1 or 2 strands away from the prior stitch. Oh, how do I know what colors to choose? I have my stitch and color guide here. This is part of the kit, McWilson, and it tells me what colors go where with it. So and then the kit comes with the colors. Otherwise, you can stitch it, whatever colors you want to. But that's how I'm going on. I have my little stitch guide here. All right, so I came up like right next to the bottom stitch and just like literally a thread length away. Oh, they're at this is our embroidery of the month. It's at penguinandfish.com. So this is one of our designs for Penguin and Fish. So yeah, the link to the shop is in my profile. Otherwise, Penguin and Fish. It'll be the first image. When you go in there, it will be for this pattern. All right, so I'm going directly across and going in up the line, but like a thread, one of these fabric thread links away from that last stitch, or from the stitch that I'm going next to. So we're literally hardly anything right next to that stitch. So now I'm going to do it again. If it seems like it's bulging a little bit, like if it's too fat, the stitches, then instead of going over one little stitch or one little thread, I'll go over maybe 2, and it'll kind of even out. So then I'm just going directly across again. So because I stitched all these vertical lines, these parallel lines, I shouldn't really have to guess so much where to stitch next, because I'll just be going right next to these parallel lines. So I shouldn't really like be veering off too bad. So all right, I finished this side over here. Now I'm going to just hop up to the other side, but I'm always starting at the bottom and ending at the top. You don't want to go bottom, top, top, bottom, bottom, top, because you'll get like this little kind of squiggle going. And you're also going to only be catching like one little thread, so that has potential to break if all that's holding the thread there is a tiny little piece of the fabric thread. So that's why you always go all the way to the top and then all the way back to the bottom. It does seem like a waste of thread, like we're technically stitching the satin stitch almost on the other side here, but all your stitches are going to lay far more flat than going like down, up, up, down, down, up. You want to just always be going like all the way around. So down to up, then down to up, down to up. Now here I could get 2 in, or maybe we can just get away with 1. Let's see. My last one was kind of bulging a little bit, so I think we might be able to get away with 1. If not, I can just stuff another one in there. Oh, there. That worked out fine. Cool. All right, so I hit that next marker, that next guidepost. So I'm going to go in between these. And if it does sort of start to veer, let's just like kind of mimic that a little bit. Oh, I kind of don't have enough stitches now. But if it does start to veer, like if it's veering this way, then you can always like go really close to the stitch up here and a little wider at the bottom. So like if it starts going this way, you can equal it out with your next stitch, and the thickness of the thread will kind of like fill in the gaps for you. So as long as you keep your eye on it as you go to see if you're keeping in the same direction, then it should be easy to kind of correct those little things. Oh yeah, Amy says it's imperative for straight stitches. Yep, going from the one side to the other, then one side to the other, versus going up, like down to up to down to up. You'll get like these wavy sort of stitches then. So that's maybe a big reason why stitches might not be laying too flat or too nice and even. We almost got it here. And I think one more smaller one on the side here to get the little edge. There we go. I think that looks pretty decent. So that is the Satin Stitch. I wonder if, maybe I have this black. I think I might just continue on this guy a little bit. And then when I run out of black thread, then I'll just pop back over here. So let's see. He's got an outline here that's all Backstitch. Now, I don't think I really need to do it there, but I have like maybe a little stitch right here. And then all the top is Satin Stitch as well. So I'm just going to go to here. There we are. And now I'm going to jump down to here and we'll continue the Backstitch for his body until we run out of this thread. And then we'll hop back to our first little dude over here, I think. But yeah, so that's one of my favorite ways to fill in a shape. So Satin Stitch is great for small shapes like this. But like any bigger, like if I wanted to fill in this whole area, this is like his tummy, that's a bigger kind of area. I would maybe second guess myself doing a Satin Stitch, like going all the way from here to there, all the way from here to there, or like these big stitches this way. If I did it that way, this to me is like maybe too big of a space for Satin Stitch. So in that case, I would probably use like a short and long stitch for that. Marcia says, oh my god, I just peeked at your website again and all the tatting shuttles are gone but one. I know! It's ridiculous. So I did order a bunch more. I think I did. I better check on that again. And we're actually almost out of our little cute scissors covers here too. So both of those are almost gone already. And we just got both of them in. And actually our needle minder, so I got some ordering to do. So I will, if any of those leave, or I know there's some sold out colors of the, if you don't know what this is, it's my little scissors cover. But if there's a color that's sold out with any of them, so with the scissors sheath or the tatting shuttles, make sure that you go to the color you want and put type in that wish list thing. So there'll be a button, it'll say sold out, and then it'll say, not wish list, it'll say sold out, and then it'll say like notify me when it comes back in stock. Something along those lines. If you click that and put your email in, you'll be notified like automatically when I change the inventory in the system. So like before we even have time to send an email out to anyone or whatever, you'll already have an email sent to you that it's back in stock. So I definitely recommend doing that. Is Backstitch the same as the outline stitch? Christy, I think so. To me, backstitch is like the real term. Sometimes in outline stitch, people do backstitch, but I think sometimes in an outline stitch, sometimes they're doing a stem stitch. So I think it's just kind of, I don't know, it's tricky that. And so I think a lot of patterns and kits that you get online that are from like China or like, these really cheap Amazon kits that are, they're all from China or whatever. Sometimes they'll say an outline stitch and I just don't know what they mean all the time. If you had a picture, I'd be able to tell you if it's a backstitch or it's a stem stitch, but I don't know. Sometimes I think older patterns, like grandma patterns, I think sometimes those they called stem stitch and outline stitch. I don't know. To me, that annoys me. I hate when they call it an outline stitch because it is sort of. Are they talking about backstitch? Are they talking about stem stitch? And there's other ways to outline things too. Oh, yours is always loose and dries you. Oh, crazy. Oh, to keep good vibes. I think I missed the first. Well, I can scroll down. I think. Hold on. Oh no. Are you referring to? Mine is always loose and drives me crazy. Any tips to make the fabric stay tight? Oh, are you talking about keeping the fabric tight in the hoop? Because I do have a good suggestion for that. Oh, nope. So this, Amy's asking, isn't this supposed to be the other color? So nope. His outline is black. His boots are gray. So his boots I'll make gray. But this, I mean, on the screen here, they both kind of look black, but like in person, this is the gray, and he's the black there. So his body is the black outline. For a hoop, let me see if I can grab this. You could wrap your hoop. So this is one of my wrapped hoops. You could wrap your hoop in fabric. Sometimes people do it both fabrics or both hoops, but I just have it on the inside. So all I've done here is taken like thin scraps of fabric, like 1-inch scraps, and I've just wound it around the hoop, and I think I've sewn it shut somewhere on here. Oh yeah, so the end I just like stitched shut. So that's when I got to the end. So I just kept wrapping around itself. So this will hold the fabric pretty well. First, it's giving it a padded surface, and it's like giving it like a nice arch to go around. So if you're having trouble with your hoop or let your fabric coming out of your hoop, I definitely recommend trying wrapping one of your hoops, like with just like scrap fabric from like edges or something, whatever you got going on. Whatever you have in your house, even yarn. If you don't have lots of fabric but you have lots of yarn, even wrapping this with yarn, I mean that'd take a lot longer, but it'd be the same effect. You're giving it like a little padding to help squish in that fabric even more. So that's what I would recommend for that. Oh, when you say this, when I do this. Say on a dime size. Oh, your stitches sag or wave. Let me think about that. All right, I'm going to actually start the satin stitch on this side. I think we'll stick with doing vertical stitches. We're going to have some really big you know what? This one I think I'm going to go we'll do sort of vertical, sort of perpendicular to his arm. We're going to go at a slight angle just so I don't have a huge stitch going from vertical top to bottom. I'm going to break that up by going a little bit at an angle. Not too much, but a little bit, I think. Maybe at the angle of what this is, that'd be good. So let's just kind of go like right here. So you're getting like a wavy line with bigger than a dime size. So dime size you might be close to like where it might be a hair too big, where a different stitch might be the way to do it. I don't know. I think I'd have to see it a little bit more. Ooh, I think my thread got caught a little bit here. Marcia says, the way I learned to do outline stitch must be the stem stitch. Okay, I have been thinking how much better. Oh, I like your outline stitch, and now I understand it's the back stitch. Oh, okay. So, all right, so that makes sense. So Marcia's saying like that she learned that the outline stitch was actually a stem stitch, which I can show you guys the difference. Once I run out of this thread, I'll show you guys the difference between a back stitch and a stem stitch. But yeah, okay. So you heard like the stem stitch being called an outline stitch. Okay, so that makes sense. Oh, Okay, so smart. Love it. I've seen someone use some type of tape. Oh, so yes. I don't know if it's really tape that they're using. I mean, it might be tape, but you might be thinking of bias tape. So bias tape is something that you can buy. It's actually fabric, but it's cut fabric. Fabric that's cut on the bias. So that's why it's called bias tape. So bias of a fabric. So fabric is woven like horizontally and vertically. So the threads in the fabric are vertical and horizontal. If you cut it diagonally, like at a 45-degree angle, so you're cutting it not with the fabric, but like at an angle, that's called like cutting it on the bias. So what a bias strip is like a bunch of, like a long strip that's all been cut, not with the threads, but like, you know, against it, like horizontal or like a diagonal on it. And what that does is it makes the fabric very, very stretchy. Fabric that's cut on the bias, on the 45-degree angle, is way, way, way stretchier than if you cut it on the vertical or horizontal threads. Those are pretty stiff. They're actually different stiffnesses, the vertical versus horizontal, but the bias, the diagonal, is super duper stretchy, and that's probably why they used that, because you are going around this round thing, so it'll stretch a little bit. It'll just go where it wants to go, without any puckers or anything, because it's able to stretch. So that's, if I had to guess, they're using like a store-bought bias tape. You can make your own bias tape too, but you can buy it in like little vertical packs at like Joann's or something. Oh, you've cooled it so you know what bias tape is. So I'm guessing that that's probably what they use. That would be perfect for wrapping a hoop. Perfect. Oh, Melanie says you can also use adhesive bandage tape to wrap a hoop. Ooh, that sounds smart. That would have some, like, grip to it, too, I would think. I should try that sometime. I think I have some of that around here. I did not think I was going to get this far with this black, with this one piece of thread, but man, we're going to finish the satin stitch on, like, both sides of this dude. But I think I am going to jump to... Oh, I'll put a little extra stitch there. Yeah, I just went through the little, oops, almost out of thread. Oh, I think I'm gonna interject a tiny piece in here. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, I think I'll go back to this guy when I'm done with this wing here. Oh, Melanie says the adhesive bandage, it does have a grip and lots of colors to choose from. I like the idea of it having a grip. I'm gonna have to give that a try. Okay, also another question. What if the pattern is calling for 6 threads? Any tips on threading it, or am I using too small of a needle? 6 strands, first of all, is a lot to go through fabric. It might actually be, depending on the fabric that's in whatever pattern you're using, it might actually be physically difficult to pull it through the fabric when you use 6 strands. All right, I'm going to weave in the ends here. I would say if you're having trouble threading it, I mean, yeah, I would try maybe a needle threader. So I don't know if you are familiar with a needle threader. We used one yesterday. I'll use it again today. But you can stick the 6 strands in here. You put your needle on first, then you put the thread inside this little V, and then you pull the needle back over. That can actually be difficult a little bit too with these needle threaders, because that is a lot of thread to pull through a needle. I don't know. Our needles have pretty large eyes. So if you're having trouble, and if you have a selection of needles in front of you, I would try one with a larger eye, if you have one. Otherwise, like the needle threader, I like the pinch method still of threading a needle. And, some people like, let's see, let me grab a piece of thread here. Some people like doing it where you you know, so I have 6 strands in here right now. Some people like folding over their needle like this and like getting it nice and tight and then like pulling on it and then they have this nice sharp edge to go through. I actually don't like doing that because by folding this in half, I now have 12 strands that I have to fit through here. So that's a lot more. So what I prefer, I mean, this might work for you, or you know, maybe you just need a needle with a larger eye like this. But I like the pinch method where first get a nice clean cut. This looks pretty clean. But now it's the 6 strands. I just like squishing it in my fingers like this. So it's kind of getting flattened by squishing it. And then I slowly unpinch. And the moment I see it, I can lay the needle on top and just kind of push into my fingers. And that oftentimes is enough to pull the thread through and I can just grab it. I mean, so this is 6 strands in here. I mean, it's hefty. I mean, it doesn't, like, see, when I pull this through, it's trying to twist up the 6 strands. It's just 6 strands is an awful lot for this. But, you know, you can force it in a needle like that using the pinch method, or here, I'll just show you the needle minder too. You can stick it in the needle like that. Oh, you have a baby one and it broke? Oh, definitely changing needles. Yeah, look for something with a larger eye. Needles is really about the size of, you know, if you're not, you know, besides the point, that's important too, but like it's the size of the floss or thread compared to the size of the eye, and also the thickness of the needle. Like if you're working on a really fine fabric, you're not going to want a super fat needle because it'll put bigger holes in. So here's through the needle threader. But again, now I'm pulling 12 strands through this, and that's a little tough. Oh, that worked fine. But there you go. So that's another way to do it. But yeah, 6 strands is quite a bit because now, you know, I got 12 strands again. That can be difficult to go through the fabric. A lot of times, so here's a tip. I haven't really done this before. I'm going to clip this and weave in this end. A lot of times, this might work for you. So here's another. Oh, Peaches, you took the words right out of my mouth. If you have 6 strands, one thing you can do is, like what Peaches says here, just cut 3 strands, but double it. So, like, if you're cutting 18 inches, instead cut 36 inches, take the 3 strands, and then fold it in half. So like it's, you know, here I have 3 strands. So if I thread this on my needle, and I pull it all the way to the end, there, now I have 6 strands, right? Because it's 3 folded in half. So now I can stitch with the 6 strands, and this is going to be a whole lot easier. So that's what I would recommend doing too, Peaches. That was a perfect recommendation. So yeah, that's, if the instructions are calling for 6 strands, I would totally 100% do this method. Cut 3 strands and fold in half. It's going to be way, way easier on the fabric and like the threading, all of that. Good suggestion. And I should do more of that. I'm so stuck in my like little 3 strands. I do like switching to 2 strands. When I do 2 strands, I do that same method. I actually cut 1 strand twice as long and then fold it in half. Because then you can do the loop method to start, which is even better than this away knot method. Okay. Oops, jeez, almost dropped my little scissors here. Okay, how are we doing? All right, so we got this guy started over there. That's pretty good. So I'm going to go back, let's go back to this guy, and I'm going to do his little satin stitch bits. Now, these are otter shapes, right? So I'm going to like go in here. I think I'm going to go like in the direction of his face. So kind of at an angle a little bit, and then I'll get these little spots in, and then, you know, then I actually have like a little backstitch to do there. His eyes are French knots, and they're black as well, so I might actually just do that right away. We'll go over French knots more in detail when I do like all these French knots that are all on the sides. But in this case, I might just, for the sake of doing all the black that's here, just do his eyes right away too. So we're going to be doing like a backstitch, a couple backstitches. Oh, let me show you the stem stitch though first. We'll do that real quick here, and then I'll take this out. So the backstitch, what we've been doing So just imagine there's a line here, a backstitch. It goes backwards on the line, and then forward on the line. Oops, geez, now I'm making a mess. There we go. And then back in the exact same hole. So it makes like this kind of bead-like look, like it's almost like a bunch of little like bugle beads all together there. So that's the backstitch. So the stem stitch, let's say I'm going along that same line, let's say I'm going horizontal to that line. I'm actually, starting at the beginning of the line. And stem stitch, you actually want to go in and out in the same motion. That makes it a lot easier. But let's say that the line's right there. I'm going to go like 2 stitches away almost. And then I'm going to come back up right in the middle. But my thread is going to be down here. So it's kind of like a back stitch, but it's actually like the back of the back stitch, really. So I have this big loop going down here, and now my thread's going to kind of catch that. So I really have my thread up here and then like a loop down here. And I'm going to keep my thread pointed down in the same direction here. And I'm going to make my next stitch down. And now I'm going to go back in that kind of that same hole in that same area. This thread is still like in a downward U. I'm going to pull, and then it's going to get that little loop again. So it's subtle, and maybe this black thread isn't the best way to show you, so maybe I should do it again in a different color. So yeah, I think traditionally this is what people mean by the outline stitch. And actually what's nice about it, and I think this is why people traditionally use it, is because it's really easy to do without a hoop. So because you're going in and out in the same motion, it's just easy to do. So I think, if you're stitching on tea towels or a bedspread, maybe that's just, or I don't know, like tea towels for sure. You don't necessarily need a hoop to do it, and I think that's why it's like popular. Anywho, I think the backstitch, you can get more accurate around corners and arcs. I think you can be more precise with a backstitch. Personally, I feel like that, because you can decide exactly where you want to go up and down, whereas like the stem stitch and some other stitches, that arc is always going to be, it's always going to be like a little choppy, because you got that bottom loop kind of doing its own thing a little bit. I don't think that's explaining it very well, but oh, Marcia says, yep, I learned the stem stitch to outline. Yep, so that's I think in like some of these older patterns. So again, I think some of the older patterns, they mean stem stitch, but like some of these like cheaper like China patterns, I think they're just using it willy-nilly. So that might be a totally different game altogether. So that in that case, they might mean the back stitch, they might mean the stem stitch, they might mean like a split stitch. Who knows? So in that case, I would just kind of look at the photo, and if you're familiar enough with different stitches to try and decipher it from there, or post a picture on Facebook or something and have someone there tell you. I've seen actually tons of people do that. Like, this says it's, an outline stitch, but this one looks like a stem stitch and this looks like a back stitch, and they're calling them both outline stitches. Ugh, that can be a little bit of a nightmare. All right. Let's strategize here. So, okay, I think I want to go at kind of like this angle here. Where did I weave in then? Okay, the back of his neck. So I think I'm going to just start by, let's put in some placement little line. So this is going to be like a way more awkward satin stitch, but again, we're just sort of filling in the shape, and it's about starting at one side and going to the other, and as long as I can kind of keep that in mind, we're going to be okay. Like some of the spots, it's a little itty bitty. So here's the spot I really wanted to get, like in the middle of his nose. His beak is going to be orange, so we'll do that next. Just kind of get that same angle. Yeah, and then I'll come back this way and fill it all in, I think. All right, I think that's pretty good. We'll get, I think I'll just actually treat this last little bit as, I gotta get like one extra little back stitch down there, so I'll just kind of treat this as a stitch. And actually, let's go here and then go down. Okay, so that's the side of his face, an extra little stitch. All right, now let's just fill in these gaps here. So it just goes to this line. There's 2 lines above the head, and that's for, we're gonna do 2 chain stitches, and that'll be like the rim of his hat, his little stocking hat. It'll be basically like this, like he flipped over his hat, and that'll be right there. Ooh, these little baby stitches. Yeah, so I think I'm actually gonna, we'll do this side of his face, and I'll do that French knot before the French knot of his eye gets too far away from me. And, ooh yeah, this is just a little awkward. I think this one can do one more small one here. But then I think we got one to go all the way to the bottom here. And back to the top. So this might be a little awkward stitching these shapes, but the overall effect, it's gonna look fine. All right, so that's kind of like one side of the face here. I think I'll get his little eyeball now, so I'm gonna do a French knot for that. And like I said, I'll go over French knots in depth when we get to kind of like this outside area, because there's lots of little French knots all over. But just to go through it slowly, I have come up. Not right in the middle of his eyeball, but I'm at the like bottom right hand side of his eye. I don't want to go in the same hole. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm going to start at the bottom right hand side of the dot, and I'm going to end up at the upper left hand side. That's how I like doing it. So I'm going to hold it in my left hand, and I'm going to point my needle towards my left hand so that it's going away from the fabric, and I'm kind of making like this loop here. So I'm going to wrap around my needle twice, and then I'm going to hold those loops in place with my finger here, and now I can kind of let go. I'm going to just swoop all this stuff down out of the way. It's looking a little twisty. I hope that doesn't cause me a problem. But now at this point, now that I have these loops held, now I can point back to my fabric, and I'm going to go on the other side of that circle, so upper left hand, just so I have some of the fabric in between. I don't want to go in the same hole. And I'm putting my needle in halfway, and then I can lift up my finger from holding those loops and pull the thread. So my knot now is right against the fabric and still on the needle. And then I like putting a thumb on there just to hold those loops in place while I bring the rest of the thread through. I think it helps them from flying all over the place. And there we got our little French knot hiding in there. It's a little subtle eyeball in there, but it's there. All right, now I'm going to continue with the satin stitch. Oh, Alyssa, I sent you a link for the tatted tatting shuttle. Oh, in Facebook Messenger. Oh, I'll have to look, Anne. I haven't seen that yet. If you're not sure about what the pattern is calling for, oh yeah, do your own thing. For sure. So Marcia says, like, if you're not sure what, like what the outline stitch, what they want you to do whatever you like the best. It's going to look fine. There's oodles of things you could do for an outline stitch, or a stitch that I felt a little knot on the back. Yeah, we do have a little twisty knot here. Boo. But yeah, there's lots of choices you could make for that. So if you do it a little bit differently than the pattern, then you're just putting your own little twist on it, and that's totally fine as well. You're theoretically outlining something, and if you've accomplished that, then you're good to go. Ooh, I think I can put one more in the middle there. Let's go back a hair and get one more satin stitch in there. So we'll definitely get his little head done tonight. Let's see. Yeah, I'll have a bunch of thread left, so maybe I'll hop on down to his feet and see if I can get his feet done with this thread yet too. We'll see. Such tiny baby stitches here. So theoretically, I probably could have done these horizontally too and gotten the same effect. But I chose kind of the direction of his face a little bit. I think I need one more like guidepost stitch here. There we go. So you can always add an extra like I just did there. I think I might actually even stitch from this side up the other way. But I'm always starting at the bottom still. That's the bit. And it doesn't have to be from the bottom. It's just a matter, like, whatever side you start on, always go back to that side. Don't like, ladder your way back and forth. All right, this is just all loopy. I'm just going to hang it there. So some stitches, like satin stitch, for example, may actually twist your thread a little bit more because you are just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. It doesn't really have a chance to unwind, so I think that's why it was getting a little twisted there. I think I can go all the way down here, all the way up. Yeah, and then fill in this space. Ugh, I'm super excited to stitch that alphabet. That's going to be so fun. It just made me smile when I got that quilt out again. And then we're going to be auctioning off the quilt when we're done, like how we did the koala quilt. So that'll be nice. And a portion of all sales is going to be donated to. So this time we're donating to the Minneapolis Crisis Nursery. And I have a link for more information on them as well. But Jenna has worked directly with them before, and it just seems like a really, really great service for people. So check that out. Oh, shoot, I forgot his little eyeball. Dang it. All right, so I need to go back and do his eyeball, but I don't necessarily want to jump right up to there, because you might see that black little line from me jumping up, so I'm actually going to just travel back through some of my stitches just to get kind of back where I was, like about there. Actually, we'll just kind of come out right here, and now I'll do that French knot. All right, here we go. Another French knot. So that was more my casual, actual speed for a French knot. There we go. Two little cute eyeballs. All right, so his face is done except for his beak. Now I think I'll do the same thing. I'll travel down the backs of these stitches, and we'll start doing like teeny little satin stitches for his feet there. I don't know if we'll finish all that tonight, but it's nice to get a little bit extra done tonight. Get those done tonight or close to done, and we'll finish them up tomorrow. This dude's going to be completely done tomorrow for sure. We'll do his hat and his beak, all that stuff. What side did I do that on? The back. Okay, so same thing here. We got to fill in. So I don't think I need to make any, like, I was going to say pilot holes. I don't need to make any of like little guide stitches here. It's just small enough that I can just fill it in. Ooh, Gretchen's tiny beads for the eyes would be so cute. Oh, Linda reminded me, don't forget the other eye. I missed that. Yep, had to go back there. Oh, Rockin' Robin, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll be cutting a whole pile of fabric for those kits, for those bundles tomorrow, and be sending them all out to you So yeah, again, the ABC Stitch Along, we'll start that. I don't think one more tiny stitch. We'll start that January 31st. And the early bird special for the that bundle goes through Friday. We'll still have it available. It'll just and we'll still actually have it slightly discounted. It just won't be as discounted as it is now. It's like 27% off, and then if you have your 15% off coupon and all that, you can get it even more. So that'll just last through Friday. All right, I'm kind of don't know if I'm doing his toes very well, but it'll be fine. His little flipper toes. I think one more here. I missed a little space. Ooh, am I going to have enough for this other side? It's going to be close. Let's just shimmy over there quick. The back some more stitches. All right, we'll do this little top of his foot first. And sometimes I don't, like how I'm doing now, I don't always start all the way to the edge. I kind of stick a stitch in the middle, and then I'll work on either side of it. I find that helpful. All right, and then on this side, yeah, I think we're going to have totally just enough thread. So we do need more black later for his little head here, but I think that's it for the black then. So we'll finish this guy though up completely first. So we need the orange of his beak and his little what do you call those? Those little straps to hold his feet in. His buckles or something. All right, I like that. Let's do his foot, and I think I'm going to have just enough. So that'll be nice. Thought about just having all this black just be black outlines, but it just didn't quite look like a penguin then. He needed his filled in arms, filled in heads, filled in feet. So we got that extra little challenge of some satin stitching with this guy. Maybe 3 more stitches or so, maybe. Or maybe just 2. Plenty of thread even. Tons of thread left over. Gretchen says, is there anything cuter than penguins and earmuffs? Yep, he needed his little red earmuffs on. All right, so that's that. I'm going to weave in the ends here. I think I might actually weave into these back stitches. That might be a little bit easier. Sometimes when you weave into satin stitches, you can distort your satin stitches on the front a little bit, but the black, with this black, it's hard to tell. Anyway, all right. Snip that. Maybe we'll save this in case we need one more stitch. And I think we'll call it there for the night, but I think we did pretty well. I wasn't expecting to get all of this guy's arms and stuff satin stitched. Yeah, so tomorrow I think first thing we'll just finish, he just got a little back stitch on his beak and the arms. or the buckles there, and then we'll do his hat. So his hat has 3 different stitches in here. So tomorrow we will learn how to do the chain stitch. Just briefly, we just have these 2 little lines to do chain stitch. This later is also chain stitch, so we'll be doing more chain stitch on there. But 2 tiny rows of chain stitch, then this is backstitch, and then 1 little French knot at the end. So that'll all be for his hat, and it'll be in that like bright blue color. So that will happen tomorrow. Finish that guy up. All right, so I like our progress on that tonight. I don't think we'll have any problem getting this done by Friday. So I'm happy with that progress for sure. So awesome, you guys. Thank you again, and keep the questions coming. This was great tonight, just, showing you some of those other stitches, like the stem stitch and all that. The wrapped hoop, I'm perfectly fine pausing and answering those questions and stuff as we go along here. So thanks a ton for that. And I'll be back here stitching this again at 8:30 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. So have a lovely evening, all. Good night.